Rock dust, should you add it to your garden? I've had a couple questions about that lately. Let's take a look at the pros and the cons. But yeah, I'm sitting here with some more mulch. It's a glorious day on the first day of March. We either plant or we put down mulch. And I still have a little bit of mulch to put down, so we're doing that. I'm just taking a break. I want to thank Gracie, Taylor, and Paul. Thank you for the cups of coffee. This is my third one today. And if you wanted to buy me a cup of coffee, you wouldn't hurt my feelings. Today is Saturday, and you know what that means. We go to you and we celebrate what's going on in your garden. We also answer questions. And the question today is rock dust. Should I add it to my garden? Before I answer that, let's take a look at dirt. Dirt. The stuff that makes up the earth, the different size fractions of rocks. It's either sand, silt, or clay, or pebbles or boulders, but different sizes. Earth is made up of rock, and all dirt is different sized particles of that rock. Sand, silt, or clay. The crust of the earth is broken down through weathering. Ice, heat, water, rain. There's some chemical weathering that can take place. Oxidation of some of the minerals. How do plants use the rock that makes up the dirt? Well, it has to turn into soil. And how does it turn into soil? It has living organisms in there. There's a whole web of life. And with the soil, what I imagine, kind of like the Amazon rainforest underneath our feet. There's a good entire web. The Amazon, you fly over and you got that nice canopy. All those branches and those leaves and all those critters, that's what I imagine is going on underneath where we're walking. And all I'm doing is feeding that by putting mulch on top. Now, if the area you're going to plant a garden has been depleted, some rock dust wouldn't hurt. And you got to think about the people that make the rock dust. There's tons of claims about the nutrients that are in there. But are those plants available any more than everything else in your soil? Adding rock dust to your garden is not a bad thing. It's not a bad thing to put it in your containers or your raised beds. But it's not quick acting. It's a very slow release. How does it release? The life in the soil. And that's what I'm doing here, is I'm attracting the life by putting mulch on top. This time of year in the garden, there's so much to do, it's easy to get distracted by shiny objects. We're gonna dump this mulch out over here, but I think these are early Jersey cabbages. And then I got a couple purple cabbages. I've got some purple cauliflower that I just planted. Let's go ahead. We got some space. And you know me, I plant heavy, no rules, chaotic garden, as much life in the soil, as many roots together as possible. See what we get. But I believe these are early Jersey, and I believe those that we planted from seed over here are the giants. We'll see. We'll see what we get. And with everything else, pull that mulch back, and you just dig a hole big enough to accommodate your plants. And we'll give them a drink, and we'll mulch back in around them here in a minute. But really, I'm just digging a depression deep enough to put the root ball in. That's as much disturbance as I want in this soil. And I don't even want that much disturbance. And fill in around it, snug it down in there, and we're good to go. And since it is Saturday, for everybody that's itching to plant, let's go on down to Orlando, Florida and look at Bruce's food forest. This is just simply amazing. It hadn't been just a few weeks since Bruce started a bunch of seeds. Got a bunch of things sprouting. Beans, tomatoes. Talking about tomatoes, he still has red tomatoes coming in from the fall. All that tropical fruit is ripening. So if you have an area and you put down some mulch and you start planting, it doesn't take too many years and you can have a thriving food forest just like Bruce. Bruce, we sure appreciate you sharing. Motivation is amazing. I got to get back out there and start planting. Bruce, I've got this round almost all the way planted in. I'd like to plant more, but my last frost date isn't until sometime in April. And even though it's 70 some degrees right now, there's a good chance I'm going to get some more frost, and I'm only going to plant cold tolerant plants. And we can still cover this with plastic. But that's all we do to plant. Just move that mulch out of the way a little bit. Dig a hole just the size of the root ball you want to put in the ground. Bury it back. It's just that simple. And then we're just going to add a little mulch back in around. That's all we do. And as these grow, we will mulch heavier. And if you have lower leaves that need pinched off, it's not a bad thing to do. I mean, we prune our tomatoes and we prune our peppers that way. All these other ones, all these other plants, they can lose some of those lower leaves. Just don't take too many off at one time. You should be good to go. And as always, your transplants or your seeds, give them a nice drink of water. And with your transplants, it allows that soil to settle in around those roots in case there's an air pocket. And yes, everywhere I'm spreading out mulch, I'm putting a little castor oil down. And that's just some dry castor oil pellets. They'll dissolve underneath that mulch, seep into the ground, help deter the moles and voles. Because here's the one thing about your garden. The better it becomes, the more the critters are going to want to visit. But knowing you're going to share a little bit, a few little preventative measures, it makes that gardening experience so much more enjoyable. And even through the dead of winter, our spinach is doing fine. We got new lettuces coming up. I think we got more spinach coming up down here. I think we got some radishes planted in there. I can't remember. Well, here's the thing, if you don't mark anything and something does not come up, you're never disappointed. But I see one of my favorite wild edibles. Now right here next to the Swiss chard that everybody thought was dead underneath that cold frame, look at the new growth. I knew the roots were warm enough. All it needed was a little sun and a little warm weather. It's going to come back just fine. This thing's probably going to bolt pretty quick and put on seeds. But look at this. That's right, dandelion. And when you got a volunteer that's coming up in the garden that you like to eat, you just leave it in the garden. Those roots fed that life all winter long. Now it's feeding me. That pollen has a sweetness. Oh, these are lovely. And if you want to add rock dust to your garden, there's nothing wrong with that. But you need to know it is not fast acting. It still requires that life in the soil to make that plant available. And if all you want to do is make a small change, change the way you do things. If you want to make a big change, change the way you see things. I think any soil, if you put mulch on top, track that life, let that life do what it does, your soil will improve enough. You won't have to spend money on rock dust or any other supplements. Just let nature take its course. We're coming into our 6th summer. I invite you to look back on my channel and see the successes that we've had. If you look back on the Saturday episodes, you can see the successes that our viewers have had putting mulch down. But I'm not going to tell another adult how to garden. I just thought folks might be interested. And by all means, feel free to leave a comment. Tell me where I'm wrong. for those of you concerned about those saggy little artichokes, you put them in good ground with deep mulch, give them a little water, a little TLC, they pop right back up. Well, I'm gonna go back to the house and get another cup of coffee. And if you wanted to buy me a cup of coffee, you wouldn't hurt my feelings. If you wanted to help motivate others on what's possible in a deep mulch garden, send in a photo now and again. There's no obligation. We'd sure love to help celebrate what's going on in your garden. And until next time, remember, take care of yourself, take care of your family. God bless you. Come on, let's plant. Let's go plant garden.